to be humble. Like even if I'm starting a project, goes back to that listening. I'm not an expert in your project. I'm only an expert on everything I know and what to bring.
Hi, welcome to On Tap, presented by FCSI The Americas. I'm Wade Kaler, Executive Director. On Tap this week is an FCSI The Americas board member who I've gotten to know a little bit more over the past couple years. He's gotten his start in the operations side and worked for some very prestigious locations that I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about. Please welcome the CEO of Ricca Design Studios, Mr. Lenny Condenzio. Hi, Lenny. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Well, Lenny, as you know, we like to dive in right off the bat with a little bit about the individual and your background and how you got started. Like I mentioned in the intro, you started a little differently on the operations side and had some pretty high profile operational jobs before you became a food service consultant. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got your start and where it led up to being a food service consultant.
It really starts way back when, I've been in the residential construction environment since I was 11 years old because my father was around new custom homes and so on and so forth. So I've always been intrigued by building and architecture and construction, and um, even took drafting in high school with aspirations to be an architect. And then, my second favorite thing was to eat. And, I was surrounded by great cooks and whatnot. So in the summer, I worked with my father, and in the winter, I worked in a fish market.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so did that. So when it came time to go to college, the guidance counselors were talking me out of architecture and into hotel restaurant management. So I got into that. Fast forward over the course of the job that I've had, there was always some some renovation happening or some uh, repurposing happening, and it was always very natural for me to be a part of that. Right from my first job, to rearrange a serving line and things like that. And so uh, I've always had a little project going on top of the operational management. And, um, and then at one point, I decided to move to California for a company, and they asked me to be involved in opening up a brand new facility. And I was supposed to just focus on ordering the inventory and so on and so forth, but I kept sticking my nose in the designer's side and all of that. So, point is, it's all just very natural for me.
Yeah.
And from California, I had a moment where I got tired of food service and all the hours and everything, and I went to work for Circuit City Stores as a training coordinator when they were opening up all the stores in the Bay Area. And I bring that up because that's where I truly got my leadership and training background. And, you know, as you would imagine, opening up a new store, you're interviewing 500 people and
Right.
designating who goes where and talk about making a decision quick if somebody's not going to make it and let them
Yeah,
go and
exactly.
you got to get the store open. So I was involved with six store openings. Um, and then from there, I got hired by a gentleman, Michael Chandler, to move back east and work at the U.S. House of Representatives as the director of catering. The
Okay.
interesting thing is, while I worked my way to California and Circuit City stores, that management company was using my resume and my name for all of their RFPs for new projects. So
Oh,
Michael Chang was like, "Who is this Lenny guy?" And everybody was like, "We don't know, but it looks good, you know." So he tracked me down, and that was the U.S. Health representative for a few years. And from there, Harvard hired me as the
yeah,
director of catering at first. And that's where it really all begins with what I do now because they needed a lot of renovations.
yeah,
That was at the time when we were going from cafeteria ladies and serving to turning the spoons around, self-serve, more than just a salad bar, everything else. So I was blessed to be a part of that whole trend in higher ed.
What so obviously that downtown Disney when you were first part of that, that was a massive undertaking. I mean, that was a brand new concept at the time. I remember that. I'm old enough to remember downtown Disney myself, so I remember how hopping it was with restaurants and nightclubs and everything else. Was it were you happy to see it go when they demolished most of it and then kind of rebuilt it to what it is today? Or were you happy about that, or were you kind of sad like all that work that kind of went away and obviously things have to morph into something new anyway, but
Yeah, just to be clear, this was downtown Disney in Anaheim, California. So there
oh
was,
yeah, that's
yeah,
true. You were in California.
there was nothing there. You know, that was
Yeah.
all it was Disneyland. So at that point, it was the Disney California Adventure opening up in the old parking lot,
Yeah.
downtown Disney opening up in the number of acres between the Disneyland Hotel and the park. So, it's just very interesting to see how it was all built. You know, when I arrived on the site, it was um, 11 months before opening day, and all of downtown Disney was nothing but steel beams popping up out of the ground. The whole underground was done. And I think Lego was the only building that was starting to take shape. So
Really?
a lot of pressure there. And, one thing about the big beast of Disney, there isn't any one person, not even Michael Eisner, that can take credit. It took an army
Right.
of people for all that to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, so
Out of all the projects you worked on as a consultant, what tell me about your favorite project you've ever worked on?
yeah, that's my toughest question because I'm going to offend somebody, right? You know,
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah,
listen.
exactly.
So, uh,
I could make it worse. I could ask you to tell me your worst person you've ever dealt with, but I won't do
yeah,
that.
I'm happy to share my I'm happy to share my worst job, uh, but we'll save that for the end. But honestly, there isn't one that stands out as my favorite, in spite of all the other things that I've done, because each project, particularly in higher ed, I came from the higher ed side on
Yeah.
with the Harvard piece, and um, watching the whole industry in that aspect grow from, being brave enough in 1991 to, let go of the spoon and let the kids
Yeah.
self-serve to what we see now,
Yeah.
and and now it's even gone beyond beyond just the food. We're addressing allergens, we're addressing um, authenticity, all of that.
Yeah.
So now we're talking more about sustainability and uh, the message that the department is delivering to the community and all of that. So the whole holistic piece of it is very exciting. So it's hard to say my favorite one. My latest one is my favorite because it encompasses all of that. And the latest one I worked on uh, indirectly through principals that actually do all the work is the University of Maryland uh,
Oh yeah.
project. That one was interesting because it was a part of a land that belonged to the indigenous people in the University of Maryland. So they were able to take that building and dedicate it to the indigenous people of that area. And the ribbon cutting was just amazing in terms of the music and all of that. So I hope I answered your question the best I could.
Oh no, it's a very good politically correct answer. It's always a tough one to put somebody on the spot to say what's your favorite, because like you said, no matter what, unless you've got one that's really famous or really known, it's hard to put somebody up at the top without, because you still work with your clients on a regular basis. It's not like as food service consultants you only work with somebody once. You go back to them as well, and at least you hope you do. And then so you don't want to offend anybody and think that their project wasn't as great as it was. And you know, the other part of that is the further you get away from a project, the more advanced that things become. The further away you get, the less you remember of it, except for some of the highlights. And so it's always a tough question to ask people. That's exactly why I do it, because I want to put you on the spot a little bit here and there. It's my one shot where I can put a board member on the spot and then get away with it. So I appreciate that.
All right. Well, I'm up to the challenge. You know.
So I know you're a Bostonian in the area. So tell me, one of the very few actually that I know of that lives in the Boston area. So how has the city itself come out of the COVID pandemic, and how we don't know a lot. We hear a lot about the bigger cities, LA, New York, and that, but I have not heard a lot about in the Midwest anyway about how Boston did. So is there anything that you want to talk about, or is there anything you can say about what the city went through and what it's at, how good it's rebounded or not rebounded so far?
Yeah. Well, first of all, us Bostonians consider our city one of the bigger cities. So
I agree.
careful with that.
I agree.
It all started here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I live 25 miles south of the city in Plymouth County, and very historic area near the North River, and some of the first ships that were built in this country were built in that river.
Very cool.
So honestly, during the pandemic, I was nicely cloistered down here away from all that craziness. And in fact, during the pandemic, people were moving out of the city like crazy, and
Yeah.
houses were selling in less than 24 hours down here for that. But Boston having what I believe to be about 61 colleges and universities in the Boston area had its challenges. You
Yeah.
know, all in one area, as opposed to Notre Dame, for example, the one college out there in that city is all these students who were not there, except
Right.
for some of the international students and whatnot. So, the city had its challenges like all the others in terms of everything shut down and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. But at the same time, I believe the rebound has been pretty extraordinary. Um, Fortunately, not only do people like to eat, they also like to be social when they eat. We're pack
Right.
animals, whether you want to believe it or not. Um, and I can go into another whole thing about, folks that get caught up in social media and aren't connected to other human beings. Nathan was a good example of that. How wonderfully everybody was embracing being in a room with other people. So
Yeah.
I think that's what saved Boston as well as other cities. And that first summer, you saw a lot of streets open up to tables and outside dining, and streets converted into pedestrian streets. And a town like Boston had very small boulevards and streets and whatnot. So really, the whole European flair really blossomed here.
That's great. Those are fun. I actually really enjoyed the cities that did that too. And granted, I don't live in a large city, but even our small city let people take over the streets and kind of be dining and everything. And I actually we've gotten away from it again, unfortunately, and in some areas, and I kind of miss it. I think people not only were excited to be out again, obviously, but it's like we've kind of forgotten how much we really did enjoy that. I'd love to see more. Yeah, like being in Europe a bunch of times where people are out on the streets and you've got pedestrian only streets a lot now and everything. I kind of wish some of our bigger cities would identify that a little bit more and potentially get to that. Not everybody wants to park on the street that they're going to eat on. Why not just close the whole street down and put tables out and let's have a night party every night?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're running a larger group of consultants with Ricca Design Group. What is the one piece of advice you give to somebody, whether they are a recent college graduate or somebody like yourself that had been in an industry and they're looking for making a change to become a food service consultant? What is the one piece of advice you give to somebody thinking about making that career change to a consultant?
It really comes down to uh, true listening skills, um, and to be able to shut your brain down a little bit while you're listening. Um, the consultants that I see that have the most problems are too busy thinking of what they're going to say instead of listening. And I have seen a lot of success on my own project and also with many of my colleagues when they have taken the time to really hear uh, what everyone around the table has to say, be it the chef or the facility manager or the operator or even the president who wants to initiate all electric kitchens long before anyone else is. Um, and if you clutter your mind with all the I can't or we can't or it hasn't been done before, you just block all the potential for creativity and problem solving. And that's why many of us in our industry, we talk about our work as design solutions, that help people realize what their
Absolutely.
dreams are. And I also like to tell folks that we're facilitators of courage. Doesn't matter if we haven't done it before. How about if we
Yeah.
all figure out how to do it? Uh, um, and we may not be the expert yet in something that's being asked of us, but we are the experts in gathering that information, that data, asking all the what if questions or whatnot to try to make an idea possible. And whether you're young out of college or been in the industry for a while, and especially if you've been in the industry for a while, you got to let go of that baggage,
Yeah.
and allow yourself to be free to hear what's being asked of you.
Well, that leads me to my next question for you, which was you left the industry and like it normally does, this food service industry sucks you back into it. Um, and you become a consultant with Ricca at the time. How long did it take you, or did you feel before you became comfortable as a consultant now to take your knowledge that you have done? Because again, you just mentioned to get out of your own head about what your experience was and how you can apply it. How long did it take you before you felt proficient as a consultant?
Well, there's multiple answers to that one. Having come from Harvard and Disney and the House of Representatives, and being, you know, 20 years younger than I am, I did have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Uh, and I'd have to bite my tongue in a couple of meetings and whatnot. And I'll tell you a funny story in a minute. But, I felt I understood what to do. And I, I feel funny bragging about this, but, a lot of people do schematic design and they're up to scheme, E, F,
Yeah.
G, H, and I. Very rarely have I had to get past B and C, um,
Okay.
because they didn't accomplish it. And I've had some folks say, wow, that's a slam dunk. Um, so I felt that I got it. But one time we were sitting around at dinner 10 years after I started, and somebody asked Happy Celia that question: how long did it take Lenny to figure out what he was doing? And I was totally floored. She said 5 years. I was like totally floored and insulted. 5 years? Are you kidding me? So, but her explanation was that you could feel good about yourself, but it also matters how your clients are bestowing respect and credibility upon you. So there's the conundrum, right? And to
Right.
find that balance between how you feel about yourself going in and how they feel about you. So from that, I've learned to be humble. Like even if I'm starting a project right now,
Uh,
it goes back to that listening. It goes back
yeah.
to I'm not an expert in your project. I'm only an expert on everything I know and what to bring to help
Right.
you realize what it is. So
Nice. Good answer. I like that too, and I think that in the association management industry, people same thing. You can have many years of experience in association management before you come in, but when you come to work for FCSI or another client, I always tell people it's going to be a good year before you feel comfortable. You got to get through almost a cycle of a year of to know what the events are going to look like, what the dues renewals, everything. It kind of goes through it, and I assume it's the same thing with being a food service consultant or any industry for that matter. You've got your 4 seasons. Well, those 4 seasons do kind of combine into making uh, a pattern for every industry. You're going to see things, whether it's the summertime, all of a sudden nobody's calling or you're not talking to many people because everybody's off on break, or the exact opposite. You're just slammed because everybody's off break. So I think that everything goes through that. But I think, Cassie's a very, very smart lady. So I would never argue with her on 5 years either. So as we all know, we just agree and say thank you. Um, but and I think she's right. The 5 year mark too is also when you see a client as a consultant probably ready to do something new again, and are they coming back to you for the next remodel or the next gig that they've got or whatever. So I think that's probably the mark of a true successful consultant is when that client decides they're going to come back and they don't think of anybody else except you. I always like to ask this question because I know a lot of you travel quite a bit as consultants. When you're getting ready to travel to go to a client's on site, and let's say you're going to be gone for 3 or 4 days, besides toiletries and clothes, what are the 3 things that Lenny has to take with him everywhere he goes?
well, yeah. Besides that, of course, being
Yeah.
prepared for the project,
Yeah.
doing some homework, understanding what you're walking into. Uh, I might be dating myself, but I can have everything on my laptop and feel good, but I still have to bring a paper copy with me just in case something happens. So I carry more paper than most people do. Um, Even when I still use my phone to get on
Yeah.
the airplane, but I still have a paper ticket because I'm one of those guys where my phone battery dies right at that point in time.
Exactly.
So, uh, so that's really it.
Okay.
I don't really have time on those kind of trips to, love to tell you I bring a book with me or I bring all my Netflix movies, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I have access to that, but really have time. Usually, I do try to make time to meet with a client for dinner if I'm getting there
Mhm.
the night before, or find a reason to stick around for a meal or a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I hit that.
Well, that's all the formal questions I've got for you. But as you know, we're not going to let you off that easy. And for season 5 here, I've gone back to the well of all the questions from season 4 and tried to pull out the ones that I know everybody seemed to enjoy the most, and the ones that when I'm out and about, as we were this year at NAFM and everything else, it's the ones that people ask me about, or the ones that people feel that they need to let me know what their answer would have been, which I absolutely love when I'm out and about at our events. So to get started, the first one, I guess, is going to be, would you rather be able to teleport anywhere in the world or be able to read people's minds?
Teleport anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have all the traffic lights you approach be green or never have to wait in line again?
The lights be green.
Okay. Yeah. There's somebody that lives in a big city. The big city people always want the lights to be green. If you live in a rural area where I am, you're like, I'll just take the lines. Would you rather fight a duck the size of a horse or 100 horses the size of a duck?
100 horses the size of a duck.
Okay.
Because the horses aren't going to fight me. You know, I'm an
That's
animal
right.
person. I'm an animal person. So I'll have them all coming around eating out of my hand. So.
Very good. Toilet paper, over or under the roll?
That's a crazy question. You know, I'm going to have fun with this one because wherever I go, it's always in the wrong direction. So, but I'm the under roll person, and
Oh.
I live with someone that's the overall person. So, and the housekeeper comes and they flip it over the wrong way. So, there we go.
So you're fighting a battle everywhere you go. You really are. You're one of the very few that's ever said under roll.
When I was younger, I lived with cats. So if it was overall, the cat had them all over the place.
Yep, that's exactly right. Cats love those over the roll thing. Under the roll keeps them from undoing it all. I used to have a dog years ago that her favorite game, because I'm an over the roll guy, her favorite game would be to grab it and run out of the bathroom down the hall, and it literally would see how far she could get before it would tear. And we could watch her do it, and it was just the craziest thing to watch a dog do. But she just had a blast with that. And we had to switch it over to underroll for a while to get her to stop because we were going through toilet paper way too quickly. Thanks to our dog, of all people. Double dipping when it comes to food, yes or no?
Never double dip.
Never double dip.
Never double dip.
I'll remind you of one of your principals, or maybe even partner at this point.
I heard about that. I heard about that one. I'm not surprised at the answer either. It depends if somebody's looking, you know.
Exactly. Yes. I love the answer from Tara, which was, it depends if anybody's looking. I love that answer. Your favorite curse word?
I don't really curse that much, but I guess if anything pops out, it's the F word.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
Okay, that's fair. Would you rather know all the secrets to outer space or all the secrets to the ocean?
I'm greedy. I want to know both.
That's a good answer, actually. I think I'm not sure I'd rather know either, to be honest with you. But both of them would be very, very interesting.
I want to know both. You know, knowledge can be scary, but it is what it is. And
yeah.
Process. I'm one of those folks, you know, I don't know if you are involved with Ancestry or 23andMe.
Yep.
You know, 23andMe makes a big deal out of, do you want to know your DNA? And they go on, and you might be scared to death. And I'm like, who the hell are they talking to? Why would you want to know?
I've not done the actual 23andMe, but Ancestry, my wife has done it and traced my family back into the 1600s. So we've gotten pretty far back, and it's been very curious to see where it led to from both sides of the family. Would you rather never have to do laundry again or never have to do dishes again?
Dishes.
Dishes? Okay. Would you rather go backstage with your favorite band or be an extra on your favorite TV show?
Extra on a favorite TV show.
Okay. Would you rather have a personal housekeeper or a personal chef?
Housekeeper. I love to cook. I hate to clean.
Okay. Would you rather give up your cell phone for a month or give up bathing for a month?
Cell phone.
Okay.
I,
Would you?
I
Oh,
live
go
near
ahead.
the ocean, so does that count as bathing? I can just go
Well, yeah,
jump.
you just go jump in the ocean. Absolutely. And the last one, would you rather have an annoying song stuck in your head all day or have an itch that you can't reach?
Annoying song stuck in my head.
Well, that's all the questions I got for you today. Tell everybody, Lenny, how they can find out more about you and Ricca Design Group.
Well, they can go to our website, and there's a lot of insight into all of the folks at Ricca, not just myself, but all of my partners. And I like to believe that what they see as the story of Ricca is a reflection of what the founders have put in place as a culture, and what I have done to foster that culture, and what folks are continuing to do to foster that culture. So there's a lot to learn about us on the website. And then, the next place is instead of stalking me on LinkedIn and all those other things, just call me and let's
Yeah.
talk. I never thought I would enjoy what we're doing here today. I've been putting this
Yeah.
off for how many years? You know, so, but I'm glad I did this.
Well, that wraps up this edition of On Tap, presented by FCSI The Americas. A special thanks to Lenny here today for joining us on this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and also help us out by sharing these episodes on your social media feeds. Until our next episode, cheers.